And Saquon first said it a couple weeks ago, and then Ross Tucker said it 2 weeks ago. They don't think the Eagles have gotten enough national acclaim, and I agree with them. Matter of fact, all of us here agree with them with what they accomplished. Let's listen to something Ross said on our show 2 weeks ago.
I'm wondering why last year's Eagles team has not gotten more discussion as being one of the all-time greats.
I agree.
After the fourth game of the year, when they went to the bye, they didn't lose again the whole year when they had their quarterback. I mean, that is very, very rare to do. And then when's the last time a team was really that dominant in the NFC Championship game and the Super Bowl? I mean, that felt like the Super Bowls when we were in the 80s. Remember when we were kids and it was like every year was a blowout?
Yep.
That's what it felt like. And by the way, they didn't just do that. They did that to the back-to-back defending Super Bowl champs who were trying to be the first team to ever win 3 in a row, and they got annihilated. I can't really put my finger on why not a single person outside of Philadelphia has had a serious or honest discussion about where this Eagles team ranks.
That's a great
among the all-time great. Listen, you guys know I go on these different Odyssey stations all over the country. Not one person has brought it up. Not one station has said, where do they rank among the all-time greats? I have no idea why that's not even a thing.
I totally agree with Ross, guys. I mean, we watch these shows, the ESPN shows, the NFL shows. You consume stuff on social media. I haven't seen not one.
The most outrageous thing, Joe, is that ESPN spent all last year documenting the Chiefs' entire year because they thought it was going to, end in a coronation, a three-peat, and they're coming out with it. I mean, is that not insane?
Well, so that's one thing. I'll take it to a different level. To me, I mean, I don't have a problem with them coming out with that video. I mean, that should be interesting.
I'm going to enjoy it immensely.
Yeah, no, at the end, yeah. I would put it. Here's the way I would frame it as it relates to ESPN. ESPN 24/7. They spend hundreds, thousands of hours just talk. I mean, look, so do we at WIP. I'm not. This isn't me throwing what's this thing? Stones at glass houses.
Oh yeah, stones.
Like
he who is without sin.
If you're a 24/7 entity, you're gonna have a lot of stuff to conversate about. Yeah. But here's what we know: ESPN doesn't spend that much time talking about baseball. They don't. They spend the most time talking about football and basketball. That's what they do. Okay, that's what they do. And if you're going to spend that much time talking about football and you have no football for 6 months, which you don't actually have games for 6 months, you would think somewhere in those 6 months of this show and that show, and let's do this and let's do that, and let's cycle this material and let's recycle it, and let's recycle it a 17th time, let's recycle it a 700th time, you would think somewhere along the line that it gets to, Eagles are really good. By the way, they freaking thumped a team in the NFC Championship game. They thumped a team in the Super Bowl, which was Mahomes and Reed, going for 3 in a row. It was as non-competitive as could be. It looked like Alabama versus Notre Dame a decade ago. Right? I mean, it looked so ridiculous. The other team didn't cross midfield until late in the third quarter. By the way, Eagles had a 10-game winning streak during the regular season. By the way, they had the number 1 ranked defense in pro football. By the way, they had a running back that gained 2,000 yards. And it doesn't dawn on anybody on a national level, as Ross said, to have a real conversation about this is obviously one of the best teams we've seen.
I think it's incredible that it could be so on the down low that our quarterback is making it his personal mission to make this season different than all the previous seasons of a Super Bowl winning team that drops off.
No, but John, you keep going into.
He's going to look at it differently.
Yeah, but that's a whole different. That's what's ahead. Listen. They can do that, and good for them. I'm a fan. I get to enjoy this as a fan. And as a fan, I find it kind of offensive that our team didn't get more recognition and acclaim. Look, here, all right, let's go through my reasons. And you guys tell me, let's go one by one. Tell me if you agree, and then ultimately tell me what you think the number one reason is, or if there's a different reason I don't state. And by the way, Reuben Frank will join us in about 5 minutes. Here are my reasons of why I think the Eagles have been shortchanged. One reason is the lack of national belief in Hurts and Sirianni. Now, the irony, obviously, as you guys know, I don't have the greatest belief in Hurts, but I certainly have more, I think, than some people nationally have. The combination of those two. All right, do you guys agree that that's a reason?
Yes.
Hurts and Sirianni doubt. Mm-hmm. And maybe even dislike of Sirianni.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Second reason, that the nation, this goes both media and fans, They struggle to wrap their mind around. They don't want to crown the Eagles over the Chiefs because the Chiefs have one more, and maybe they view it as disrespectful to just sort of skip over the Chiefs. Like think of it this way: 67 Sixers. A lot of people said around here, one of the greatest teams of all time, maybe the best NBA team of all time for a long time, maybe of all time. But the Celtics had won 8 in a row. So Red Auerbach's don't put the 67 Sixers above my team. My team just won 8 in a row. But I know people still alive that say, yeah, but the 67 Sixers were better than any one Celtic team. So nationally, though, they get swept away because the Celtics won 8 in a row. Chiefs had won 2 in a row. Chiefs had won 3 and 5. I think there are people that are I can't get down with putting the Eagles above the Chiefs because the Chiefs have won more, which is true. But the Eagles weren't playing against the Chiefs from a couple of years ago. They were playing the Chiefs in 2024 squad. Do you guys buy that theory?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's a pro-Andy, pro-Mahomes thing. Okay. Next theory. The nation didn't really understand how great the Eagles' defense was because they didn't know the players. Mm-hmm. They didn't really know Cooper DeJean, Quinyon Mitchell. Quinyon Mitchell, the ball never gets thrown his way. So how can they know him? They don't know him. He was a rookie, and you rarely even see him on the TV screen because no one's throwing the ball at him. Well, there's a reason no one's throwing the ball at him. Jalen Carter, interior defensive lineman, not deep in his career, not really understood. Ball on this nondescript linebacker who, yes, flash, but not in a way where they say, this guy's, So you had 4 great defenders. I think all 4 of them weren't viewed as, that. All right, do you guys agree with that theory?
Yeah, there are no names. I mean, they kept pointing out Chris Jones on the other side. So, yeah, you don't have the big names.
Yeah, and they're not flashy.
Young, inexperienced.
It's not Dion.
They're not.
Guys.
Yeah, exactly.
These aren't guys who every other player in the NFL knows their name. When they fill out the ballots for the Pro Bowl every year, there are certain guys who are right at the tip of guys' tongues.
Sure.
Those players who have 10 years under their belts and they're always, on commercials. Yep. They're always, front and center. We have young, under-the-radar guys who will someday be those guys on commercials. Right now, we've just got them in their great play.
Yeah, I'm with you.
They haven't been sort of corrupted by all the other stuff.
Yeah, no, they're just not that well known. All right, I got 2 more theories. The final score of the Super Bowl.
Flip that final score. Flip what happens in the last quarter with Andy Reid, okay? Andy Reid didn't get enough criticism, as far as I was concerned, for leaving his players in to try to prop up a score so that in 20 years it'll look better. If Nick Sirianni had done that, could we discuss the amount of criticism he would have gotten nationwide? Instead, Andy Reid, he's Andy Reid the God.
I mean, guys, the final score is 40-22. We all know it was a 40-6 game that probably could have been a 56-6 game.
Do you realize? You realize when they scored, when it went from 40-6 to 40-14? Do you know how much time was left in the game?
Like a minute?
Yeah, almost.
Yeah.
There were 2 minutes and 54 seconds left. It was 40-6 with 2 minutes and 54 seconds left in the Super Bowl.
One of the lamest things Andy Reid has ever done, and never got any criticism.
So, well, you're right. So that's 57 minutes into the game, James. And so I think that final score hurt the way the Eagles are viewed historically. Because, John, you and I grew up with the Bears, and the 46-10. I was stumbling earlier on the one with Montana, but I knew it was there about James. James went right to 55-10. These kind of scores resonate in your head.
The drubbings, they stick in there. It was it was unlikely, I guess, that you would see such a lopsided score, and so they really do register in there, and they don't go away.
The final one I'll say, and then we'll get to Reuben Frank and phone calls. If you agree or disagree with our sentiment that the 2024 Eagles have been shortchanged historically with no national discussion about, that they should rank, amongst the top 5 or top 3 in recent years, top 1 this century. They might be top 1 this century. No one says it. I think there is some anti-Philly sentiment. Ben, does that resonate with you?
100%. We are not liked nationally. We're
and
just not.
And they just don't want to give it to us, right?
And the stereotype will go on forever. I guarantee it.
I agree with you.
Well, we did throw snowballs at Santa Claus, so
like that rhetoric. It's just enough already. It just won't go away, no matter what we do.
Yeah.
No matter how we act or how many championships we win.
I mean, Mahomes,
that will stick with us.
Mahomes did not pass midfield until late in the third quarter.
Exactly.
That doesn't count. I mean, guys, I'm not saying the Eagles have to be viewed as number 1 all time. I'm not saying that. I know there's some credible teams, some of which I didn't see. 72 Dolphins, Steelers, the 70s. I get it. I saw the Niners in the 80s. They were amazing. I saw the Cowboys in the 90s and the Niners in the 90s. They were amazing. Here's what I know. This is one of the best teams I've seen. I know that. And I also know they may be the best this century. And I also know I heard 0 people say that nationally. 0. It's kind of irritating.
And you're talking about probably the top 3 quarterback of all time.
Which
right?
one?
Mahomes.
Beating him, yeah.
That doesn't cross midfield till the third quarter. That doesn't get brought up?
No, it doesn't get brought up. Let's talk to Reuben Frank and get his perspective on what he makes of this. And then we'll get to, the Eagles moving forward, obviously, with training camp in 6 weeks. Let's talk to Reuben right now from NBC Sports Philadelphia and one of our own here at WIP. Good morning, Rube.
Hey, guys.
It's great to have you on the show. So, Rube, you've heard what we've been discussing there in the last few minutes at least. So, two-part question. Do you agree the Eagles' 2024 Birds got shortchanged after the Super Bowl with the acclaim? And if so, why do you think it happened? You heard some of my theories. Why do you think it happened?
Yeah, it's a great question, and you're right. Like those blowout scores, like if I say 44-6, you know what? Only one thing comes to mind: the 2008 Cowboys game at the end of the season. Right?
Of course,
there's those blowout scores. Like there's just something about them. And you're right. I think those last 2 touchdowns did change the narrative a little bit. But I mean, it's always been this way. I mean, national people never give the Eagles credit, never give Philadelphia credit. I for one don't really care because like we know what we have here, so like who cares? Kind of what they're saying in.
So I do.
California.
Look. I could tell you. I could sit in front of a psychologist and say, I know I'm supposed to not care. I know I'm supposed to have enough self-esteem that it doesn't bother me. It does bother me, Reuben. It does. I waited my whole life to see a championship. I saw it. Then I saw a second, and I'm going to puff my chest out a little bit. And I want the nation to understand that we, as a fan base, and let's be real, more than anything, the Eagles players deserve the acclaim. I mean, because, Reuben, I think there is a legitimate argument that this was the best team this century. They had the number 1 ranked defense. They had a 2,000-yard running back. They had a 10-game winning streak, and they absolutely decimated 2 teams in the final 2 games, one of which was a back-to-back champion. That's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, I guess my thing is, like, as long as we know what we have here in this city, like, who cares?
Okay.
I mean, I get that you do, and that's
sure.
valid. I just, you know what, we know here, and that's all that matters to me.
How much do you think is anti-Sirianni, anti-Hurts as the nation processes those two?
No question about it. They don't fit the model of what people nationally want in a head coach and a quarterback. They're not classic NFL. You're not looking at guys that fit the mold of whoever it is, Chuck Noll and Terry Bradshaw, or Bill Walsh and Joe Montana. They just they're different. They're different, and it's kind of one of the reasons we love them here. But who cares?
Ruben, we had Trot Jr. had a real opportunity this summer, getting a chance to get in there a little bit more with some of the linebacker injuries in this situation. What is our inside linebacker room looking like right now with all of the health challenges we've got going on?
Yeah, Trotter, it's been a great opportunity for him, and he's an athletic guy, and he's really smart. He's so different from his dad. It's so funny. They're just such different players, but we don't know when the Kobe's going to come back. What a shame, and you just hope he does come back 100% at some point. We don't know what Jahad Campbell is, and it's easy to just say you plug him in when he's healthy, and he should be healthy by the opener, I think. We know what Zach Bond can do, but there's a lot of questions there, certainly, and the potential is there to have the best linebacker crew this city has seen in forever. I mean, gosh, when's the last time? I mean, think of the linebackers we've lived through over the years, from Keith Adams to, Jamar Chaney and Moses Foku, and I don't want to.
Keith was tough. Keith would strike you.
He was a tough dude, but
he would.
Come on now.
Come on now.
He was a little undersized.
Rube's been shaming both of you guys this interview. It's great.
I'm enjoying this so much.
What about
Come on
Smile?
now.
What about Smile Mondin?
Matt McCoy. I mean, we go on and on.
Sure.
Well, Smile's in there now, starting during this last mini camp, wasn't he?
He got some reps with the ones, yeah.
That's incredible.
Rube, do you think Jahad Campbell will be ready for week 1? Do you think he will play in week 1?
I think it's going to be close. I think if it's not week 1, it'll be soon after, just based on what Vic said, that he expects to see him in August.
Yeah.
So if that means the last day of August, then probably not. You need a little more time. If it's the first day of August,
sure,
which it probably won't be. But I think he'll be out there pretty early. And I can't wait to see what he's all about. I mean, the guys rave about him, and Zach Bond was just going off about him the other day, and just how similar he is to him as far as his ability to do a lot of different things,
good,
and line up in different places. But we haven't seen it yet,
sure.
So who knows? But I think the potential is there to have really an elite linebacker crew, which I can't tell you the last time we had that.
Well, they had it obviously with the Seth, Byron Evans, William Thomas crew. That was something. And then in the 70s when you had Berge and LeMaster and Bunting, you had some really good players. But it's not been. And then Trott, it certainly had some. There was Sean Barber and him, I guess, didn't overlap. But you had Carlos Emmons with each of them, so you had two excellent ones.
Yeah,
that,
they were good. And I think Seth and Willie T only overlapped a couple years.
Couple years. Yeah.
So, but we're talking about the potential to have this group together.
Sure.
For the long term, which that just hasn't happened.
All right, Rube, let's get to last week, and then as it relates to the coming season. So you had a chance, obviously, to get your eyes on the guys in a practice. What stood, or maybe that was a couple of days ago. These days are all running together. What stood out to you when you got a chance to see the team? What are some of the main observations you took away?
Well, in the big picture, I think the biggest takeaway is that this does not look like a team that just won a Super Bowl a few months ago. They don't look like a team that's resting on its laurels. They don't look like a team that is kind of pumping out its chest and saying, we just did this. I mean, they're putting in the work. They never talk about the Super Bowl. They're just looking forward, and I think that comes from Nick and just the tone that he sets. And I think every Super Bowl team says that, but it seems like this team is doing it. And I think there's so many changes and there's so many new guys that they didn't experience that. So they bring a lot of energy, and it's been encouraging. It's been good to see. They're certainly not a team that's going in there saying, we did this. It's just gonna happen again automatically. They're putting in the work.
Ruben, what are the odds that we try to improve the cornerback position with a guy from Green Bay named Jair Alexander?
I just don't think that lines up with what Howie's trying to do this year. I mean, he wants to be younger. Jair Alexander's missed a ton of games. He's averaged like 7.5 games over the last 4 years. I think they're high in Keely Ringo, and I think they should be. I think he's got a chance to be a player. This whole offseason has been about getting younger and getting faster, which means getting cheaper as far as contracts go. Now, if Keely has a bad training camp and Dory Jackson's not working out, he's kind of an older guy, maybe you might see him move. I just don't think that one makes sense because you're looking at a guy who's going to miss half the season if the last 4 years are any indication. So I think he's only 28, but he's had a ton of injuries, and generally guys like that don't just start automatically getting better and healthier when they hit 28, 29, 30. So I just don't see it happening.
So Keely Ringo, in your mind, is the front runner, and then Adoree Jackson, the experienced veteran that, if need be, they feel as though they are comfortable depending upon if for playing time. Is that how comfortable they feel with Adoree?
Yeah, I think that's the plan, and I think they want Keely to win that job. You probably want the veteran, and he can back up the slot. He can, Adoree Jackson can do a lot of things. But I don't think you want him starting. I don't think you want a 29-year-old. It's all about youth this year. I mean, that's how he's said that. Just in the way and when he talks, and he said it in the way he signs players and the way he drafts. Obviously, you're going to draft young players, but the whole depth chart is all about being young, being fast, and being healthy, and those things all go together. And I just don't see, unless Keely Ringo is not what they think he is, which is possible. You never know. But I thought he played well as a rookie. He's had 2 more years. I expect big things from him. And, he's been around some good corners since he's been here and learned a lot. He's fast. He's only 22.
Yeah,
so
wow.
I think he's the guy.
Good deal. All right, Rube, final thing here, man. I know you're a big music guy. With Brian Wilson from the Beach Boys passing away yesterday, best Beach Boys song is which one?
I saw Brian Wilson in 2015, and it was life-affirming. It was just unbelievable. And he was, he wasn't getting around real well. He wasn't speaking. He was speaking haltingly, but he came out and he said, I'm going to play a song that they say is the best song I ever wrote. And then he paused and he goes, they're probably right. And he said, this one's called God Only Knows.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. That's really cool. I appreciate that perspective. So he said it. That's awesome.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
There wasn't a dry eye in the house at that point. It was really cool. And, what a genius.
Awesome. Love it. Rube, stay well, pal. We'll talk to you soon. Obviously, 6 weeks until training camp. Looking forward to it. Thank you, Rube.